Hello, Five Reasons friends. Welcome back. It's me again, Alejandro Villegas, but this time to do our Marlins report. Today we're going to be talking about the Miami Marlins, who already announced their rotation for this series against the Chicago Cubs, this wild series, the wild card series. I don't know why they call it that, but it's the first round of playoffs. And here we are ready to have the Marlins playing a postseason game. I know everybody's talking about the Miami Heat, but we feel like the Marlins also deserve a very important space here in our channel. That's why we're doing this Marlins report today as well. And tomorrow we're going to be doing a live commentary starting at 1:55 p.m. during the Marlins game. So welcome, David. Welcome, Christian, to talk a little bit about baseball tonight.
Yeah, and thanks for having me, Alejandro and Christian. Great to have you aboard again. It's always nice to have more voices, talking Marlins baseball here. Christian's been one of the writers for the Five Reasons Sports Network, covering the Marlins beat and all that stuff. I'm doing some of that stuff as well. So, it's good to share the Marlins love here as we move through in what's really an exciting time in South Florida sports, right? I mean, tomorrow, it was a crazy weekend, number one, right, with all the teams that were playing and winning. And now tomorrow, not only do we get the first Marlins postseason baseball game in 17 years, we also have, the Miami Heat playing game one in the NBA Finals. Now, the good thing is they're not happening at the same time, right?
Yes.
That'd be awkward.
Yeah, that would have been tough. I mean, Sixto ran into that a little bit throughout the year, right? He seemed to always pitch on days that the Heat were playing, but it's an exciting time. I mean, the team is pumped. They're ready to go. They released their rotation. They haven't said anything about their lineup yet, but that won't come until tomorrow. So, it's an exciting time. What do you think, Christian?
I'm excited. I mean, I'm just honestly pumped that I get to watch Marlins playoff baseball. It honestly feels like an oxymoron at this point, Marlins playoff baseball. But I don't know. I think the team is very good. I think, the culture we talked about on the last one of these could propel them forward. I think they have a very, very tough path. The Cubs are a great team. They would match up with us well. I would be scared going against Kyle Hendricks and Darvish, no matter what team I was, let alone the Marlins, who kind of have on and off days. I feel like it's going to be hard. I think a 3-game series is salvageable just because, we do have Sandy, Sixto, Pablo. But, because our hitting so on and off, I was thinking about it like this. We'll hit one day, we'll hit the next, we'll hit the other day. I believe 80 to 90% of our two wins in a row throughout the season were doubleheader games. And as someone who played baseball growing up, a doubleheader game almost feels like one game. So it's we haven't been able to really capitalize and win 2 games in a row that consistently, as seen in the 31-29 record. And as we get deeper into a series where the bats just can't consistently put up runs, I don't really trust Braxton Garrett, Trevor Rogers, Jose Urena's hurt. That 4-5 in the pitching rotation is going to be very tough to overcome for this team in bigger series. But against the Cubs, I definitely think we have a chance right now.
Yeah, so you guys went over the rotation. It's going to be Sandy tomorrow. These games are going to be back to back to back, so there's no rest here. It's Sandy on Wednesday to 8 p.m. We were talking about this yesterday. Baseball is very exact with times. It's not like the NBA that they say the Miami Heat's supposed to start at 7:30 or something like that. It's going to be 8:30.
Yeah.
And it's going to end up at probably midnight. So it's 2:08 on Wednesday. Then on Thursday, we don't know yet. I don't know why they haven't said what time. At least it's not in the MLB app. But it's going to be Sixto Sanchez against Darvish in the second game. That's a great matchup there. And,
that's a fun one.
And we'll be discussing a little bit about all of this. And then on Friday, we have Pablo Lopez, and the Cubs haven't said anything, or at least it's not here in the app.
They said John Lester.
John Lester's going to be. So, that's another great matchup there at Wrigley Field. So let's go one by one. Sandy Alcantara is going to get the ball. I mean, we were talking about this yesterday, David. We were almost sure, 99.9% sure that Sandy was going to get the ball. I guess the debate was who was going to be right after Sandy, right? Because that was it's either or, it was fine. I mean, Sixto has been impressive. Pablo has a little bit more of experience, but they both have their ups and downs this season. So that was uh, whatever they picked, that was fine. But let's go matchup by matchup. Sandy Alcantara against Kyle Hendricks. The Marlins have struggled. I don't know why against slow pitching. I don't know. They get like so anxious, or I don't know what's going on, especially lefties. But in this case, they're gonna face Hendricks, who is a specialist. It's very deceptive, and whenever he comes with the fastball, it's like 90, but it looks like 100 because he throws everything and he moves all over the place, and it's a great matchup for the Marlins in this first game. So, what do you guys think about this game?
Yeah, listen. I mean, it's exciting. I'm really excited for Sandy, more than maybe most, because he's worked to this point, right? And one of the things that he said, well, first Mattingly said that Sandy was our guy, right? He said that on the Zoom call today. It didn't even seem like there was much of a debate, right? He wanted to keep Sandy on schedule. It would have been his throwing day anyway, had this been like the regular season. And he said that Sandy had kind of, gotten into a groove. He had found his rhythm, and he wanted to sort of capitalize on that, right? So, it didn't seem like it was much of a question for Mattingly. And then for Sandy, I mean, he started his Zoom call today by, thanking God and thanking the Marlins. And he said, I think they believe in what I've been doing, talking about the Marlins. And he says that this is a great opportunity, that he feels great. And, he just exudes confidence at this point. Going into the series against the Yankees, he was talking about how the Yankees were going to have to fight him, right? That daunting Yankees lineup was going to have to deal with him and his stuff. And he said something very similar this afternoon. He said, the Cubs, got to be ready for me tomorrow. Let's see what happens, So he has taken on this role. He has certainly matured in his time with the Marlins, and he's really sort of stepped forward with this rotation. I mean, we saw Pablo do great things, especially like right after the COVID outbreak, and obviously, dealing with the loss of his father. I mean, we saw amazing things from him early on, and then we saw amazing things from Sixto. But Sandy has taken it to another level, right? And when you look at him, his maturity has kind of lined up with seemingly a very focused philosophy for him, right? He's been more aggressive. He's been attacking the hitters. He's been attacking the strike zone. And that's when he has kind of found his biggest success, right? And that, Mattingly was talking about how that's the key. Mattingly said today, if Sandy is on the attack, getting after the strike zone, which is what we talk about all the time, you like his chances of being successful, keeping us in the game, and giving us a chance. And that's true. If you put Sandy up against Kyle Hendricks, you're talking about two frontline starters, right? But I would almost lean towards Sandy, even though Hendricks has been great, right? His numbers are pretty good. I mean, he's got a 2.88 ERA. He's 6-5 on the year. He's got 64 strikeouts in more than 80 innings pitched. He has a one whip. So he's a good starter, right? The thing that'll work in the Marlins' favor is that he, and Darvish too, he's in the strike zone a lot. So if the Marlins hitters are able to avoid chasing pitches that are outside of the zone, and they're aggressive and they do damage the way that James Rowson and Eric Duncan have talked about from the beginning of the year, if they're aggressive at the plate and they stick to their plan, the opportunities are going to be there for this offense, even though the offense has been inconsistent throughout the year. I mean, the Marlins don't have a ton of experience. This lineup specifically doesn't have a ton of experience against Hendricks. I mean, Marte has seen him a bit. Dickerson has seen him a bit. But, the holdovers from the lineup from the last few seasons, Anderson, Rojas, Alfaro, even Brinson, those are really the only guys that have seen Hendricks, right? So, when you think about it, the key for Sandy is going to be keep the ball in the ballpark, right? This Cubs offense isn't great. They've got like big names, right? Javi Baez, the Anthony Rizzo, Jason Hayward, Chris Bryant. I mean, names that we've heard for a long time, right? Names that have been around for a long time, but none of them is having a standout season at the plate. right? Their best hitter this year is Ian Happ, okay? And he's hitting 258. I know batting average isn't everything, right? But he's getting on base at a pretty good clip, 361. But as a team, the Cubs offense has struggled, and they've struggled to score runs. They tend to bog down in those spots. Over the last 10 games, they went 4-6, and they had a -6 run differential going into the end of the year. They lost 3 out of 4 to the Pirates going towards the playoffs, right, before wrapping up with the White Sox. So this team is there. They're vulnerable. This offense is vulnerable. And I think if Sandy's on his game, he gets ground balls at a 50% clip. If he can induce ground balls and keep them in the ballpark, don't let them, hit the ball out of Wrigley Field, the Marlins are going to be in business, I think. What do you think, Christian?
I think that looking at this series, it's very interesting. I think that for the Marlins, if they were even to advance, we can even look at a more interesting series next round if they're to play I believe they're scheduled to play the Reds or the Braves. If the Reds win and the Marlins win, or even if the Cubs win, we're going to see 2 battles of really, really good pitching. And as a fan of pitching, I think that would be great for the game. The Reds, obviously, Trevor Bauer has been the best pitcher in the league this year, without a doubt in my mind. But, looking at this series, I think there's 3 very interesting matchups. And to start off, what I think the decision to put Sixto second is very, very smart. I think you put Sixto in a Game 3 situation on the line. That's a tough place to be, especially in your first year as a pitcher in the major leagues, to be put in a win-and-in playoff situation. I think giving that spot to Pablo is a lot better. And we don't want that Game 3 coming down to a shootout. And obviously, Pablo had that game. He pitched in the 29-9 game. But there was the inning that he got taken out. He got out of the inning almost, but it was like there was an error. So it wasn't really necessarily on him, I would say. And he hasn't been that big of a threat past that to allow big runs. I feel like Sixto living in the strike zone, especially against those big names that you mentioned, like Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, Javi Baez, can be very dangerous, especially as a young pitcher. But all 3 pitching matchups are going to be fun to watch. I think Kyle Hendricks is probably one of the most underrated starters maybe in MLB history. The guy throws 88 miles an hour, but is straight masterful. He plays chess out there every game. And the Cubs' decision to put him first shows that they know he's their hidden gem. He always has been. He was in their 16 run. He was lights out the entire playoffs. He had a Cy Young run. The guy doesn't get the credit he deserves because he's not throwing 95. He's not throwing 96. But he knows how to pitch. And for a Marlins team that has struggled for slow pitching, Kyle Hendricks is the king of that. So for us to go out there and win Game 1, I really think it's going to come down to, can Sandy match Kyle Hendricks, and can we work Kyle Hendricks late into the ball game, get him out or early, work him out early in the ball game, 5th, 6th inning, get to that bullpen. I'd rather take my chances with a bullpen that's throwing a lot more fastballs that the Marlins have been much better at hitting, especially like BA has struggled with off speed all year. I think just getting to a bullpen that's throwing fastballs is what we want to see against Kyle Hendricks. On the opposite end, Game 2, we have Sixto and Darvish. Darvish has been amazing this year. I think it's a 2.16 ERA for Darvish. Cy Young run, I would say. Had Trevor Bauer not been so dominant, I think I would give the Cy Young to you, Darvish, this year. Maybe if Max Fried didn't get hurt, maybe Max Fried. But either way, Sixto's going to have his hands full keeping up with Darvish as well. And Game 3, Lester's a vet, but he struggled all year. I do think if we get to a Game 3, I can see Pablo definitely outpitching John Lester, especially at this point late in his career. I think the only thing that the Cubs pitchers have over the Marlins pitchers, it isn't talent. It's just experience, in my opinion. Hendricks, Darvish, Lester, they've all been there. And this Cubs team has all been there. They've all won it all.
And talking about the Marlins, we have to remember the Marlins play way better baseball on the road, right? This year, something happened that they played better when they were not at Marlins Park, and that's something very interesting. And they're gonna have to win at Wrigley Field a couple of times in order to advance in the playoffs. I have a surprise for you guys because I I played with a guy that it's a diehard Cubs fan, and I want to bring him in because I told him every time he sees all the things that I do here, and he's like, "Man, you do all these things in Spanish." I'm like, "No, I do some stuff in English too." So I'm gonna invite you next time I get a chance, and this is the perfect scenario for him. So I'm gonna welcome Zach Gerch. He's my friend. He played college with me in Kansas. He's from Iowa, and he's a huge Cubs fan, Cubs follower. We were there and we enjoyed together. I mean, I felt so happy for him when the Cubs won the World Series against the Indians. And here you are. What's up, Zach? How are you?
What's up, guys? I'm doing well. How are you guys?
I'm good,
Good,
man. Good.
Nice. Thanks for joining us. Welcome.
No problem.
Yeah, we wanted to give the people here in South Florida a little bit of the other side of this series. How do you guys feel? I mean, because you were one of the most dominant teams this season, even though you guys didn't have the best offensive year this season so far, but you still have a very good rotation. And how do you guys see the Marlins from there? Like, do you guys see the Marlins as a threat or not really?
To be honest, man, they're kind of a cute story.
Uh-huh.
So they, in all credit to them, they played well with the circumstances they faced, the COVID and bringing up, the journeymen from the minor leagues. But I mean, what's different from this Cubs team in 16? I mean, we still have the basis of our star power. They've underperformed a little bit, but that just makes them a little different and a little more dangerous because they hit the reset button now. So I'll say this, it scares me because of 2003. But I mean, it's more of a cute story and a way back memory than anything.
Okay, we were talking about matchups here, and since we have the rotation already, I want to listen to your opinion about this. I know the Marlins pitchers don't get as much as attention as maybe the Cubs, the Yankees, or any big media teams around the United States. But tomorrow we're gonna see Sandy Alcantara. I mean, you saw it in the All-Star game last year. You saw it against the Yankees in the last outing of the season against Kyle Hendricks. Very two different styles. Zach was a catcher, so he also knows the game from behind the plate. So he gets to actually talk about what goes on inside the lines too, and especially from that position, the only one that's facing everybody and that gets a different angle to everything. So how do you feel about this first game? Sandy Alcantara against Kyle Hendricks.
Man, it's I mean, you're not getting like what you're seeing tonight, the Cole versus Bieber, but these dudes, they can pitch. And being a former catcher, I mean, pitching ain't about the radar gun, and I'll say that. And Kyle Hendricks, I'll just speak on him because I watch him a lot more. I mean, pitching is all about interrupting timing, making sure that getting 27 outs instead of just, hey, who can hit the radar gun the highest. But the Marlins, man, their Jeter, he's done a good job of building that rotation. It's a lot of fastball changeup guys, which is kind of what Hendricks is. I mean, it's going to be interesting to watch. I'll say that. You're seeing in this new age of pitching more of a fastball slider up in the zone, kind of away from the zone. And this is more of the old school, the Greg Maddoxes of the world, just change speeds and get hitters out. So it'll be exciting.
What about, talking about lighting up the gun? On the second game, we're gonna have Sixto Sanchez. I know you've heard about him because people love to talk about.
Throw it in there hard.
Yes, pitchers throwing 100 or plus now. So Yu Darvish, how do you feel about Yu Darvish? He's been great so far, but we know his history in the playoffs. You feel confident about him?
Yeah,
no, you don't.
Okay. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. There's certain guys you like, you root for, but you just can't watch the pitch. To me, that's Yu Darvish. I mean, the dude's, he's got nasty stuff. He throws 1.5 million pitches, and he's had a hell of a year. But I mean, as far as pitching wise, this dude leaves way too many pitches up in the zone. Now, as far as Sixto Sanchez, I wish he was a Cub. I mean, you talk about, there's been comps thrown around, and I've done a little research on him. but a young, kind of thicker Pedro Martinez. I mean,
Yes.
that dude his stuff is filthy, and he's a ticking time bomb before he's in the Cy Young talk and top pitcher of the league. I mean, he's scary. I'll say that.
Yes, for
Zach,
sure.
I wanted to ask you a question here real quick. You said you're a former catcher, so you have experience with that sort of thing, handling a pitching staff. Here for the Marlins, there's a little bit of a question over the last couple days about who should be the catcher for us in game one, right? And so there's been this discussion between Jorge Alfaro, who's like our normal catcher. He was the everyday catcher. I mean, he got sick, so he missed a lot of the year, but he's got the bat, right? He produces at the plate, and he's got a cannon for an arm back there, right? So he tends to eliminate the running game. But then his backup, Chad Wallach, has been great, like calling games recently. I mean, he's much more of a light hitter. He's never been consistent at the plate, but the pitchers seem to be a little bit more comfortable throwing to him. So I guess as a catcher, what is ultimately maybe the most the I don't know, I guess like the most valuable part of being the catcher, right? Being able to produce offensively, or being more of a light hitter but still having like a better like calling the game, stuff like that. What do you think?
So I'll kind of give you a little background on myself, guys. I'm I'm coaching right now at a junior college. We're Division I and up here in the great state of Illinois, home of the Cubs. But I also work with the catching or the catchers, and the bat and the throw tool. They're great stuff. Don't get me wrong. But look at today's game. If you dive into the stats, and I don't have the exact stats in front of me, guys, but the running game, if you throw out let's say JT Real Muto, one of the better catch and throw guys, that you're saving about 1.9 runs a game, which is all right. But that defensive metric, if you can receive and block it, and you have that trust from your pitching staff, receiving alone, that's 8 runs a game, blocking is about 3 runs a game. And trust, that's the huge thing, is why it's so hard to teach catching and scout catching is, it's this game 60 feet 6 inches, and your pitchers have to trust your catcher, the game plan going in. So my advice, I haven't seen these guys play too much, but your backup, man, if he's the defensive guy and he's got the trust of your pitching staff, that's who you got to go with.
Yeah, he seems to have their trust, because you rarely, over the last couple games, you rarely see them shaking him off at the mound and stuff like that. And I mean, he's provided a little bit with the bat, but he's definitely the better in terms of receiving the ball, like you said, and just defensively for sure. It's an interesting an interesting thing that we're kind of talking through down here.
No,
I don't mean to cut you off, but if you look all the way back to 2015 when the Royals won the World Series, there's been a few commonalities, and it's been defensive catchers. Salvador Perez back in 15, he was one of the top defensive catchers. The next year you had a young Contreras and a David Ross who was more of a defensive guy. The next year you had on blank Maldonado for the Astros. I mean, it just keeps on going up. So you want to, you want to win at this time. You got to have the defense up the middle, and it just comes down to timely hitting. Okay,
going back to the matchups real fast before we let you go, Zach. I know you're enjoying your great state of Illinois right now, and you got to get to watch the Yankees and the Cleveland Indians. John Lester, if he gets to game 3, I know you love John Lester. We've seen it together. We've experienced the John Lester type of life, and we know he's given everything to the Cubs. He was a warrior in the World Series year. But this season, this John Lester, would you trust this guy for a 3rd game? How do you feel?
Yeah, 100%.
If he gets that far, how do you feel about it?
100%, man. You take the resume every day. Okay. I know that he had a rough year, and his swing and miss rate ain't too great right now. But this dude is a Hall of Famer when it just comes off of his playoff experience. I have all the faith in the world in John. Okay,
Christian, this is your last chance to ask anything to Zach before the Marlins beat the Cubs. So go ahead and do it.
So do you think that the Cubs bats are going to be fully ready for I mean, they've struggled. They had the series against the Pirates, right, where they did not put up any runs. And then against the White Sox, which is a much better team, they put up 25 runs in 3 games. Do you think which bats do you think we're going to see out of the Cubs? The first versus the Pirates, or the second?
Man, the Cubs all year they've been timely hitting, and that's a dangerous thing. But I'm also a firm believer that dudes do dudely things when it comes playoff time. So our 1 through 4 hitters, man, they haven't been hitting all year, but it's that reset button. So I think they're going to take off. So I'm not too worried about it. I know it's through the 60 games they weren't too good, but I think things will change around. This last series against the White Sox, they had a lot better at bats. I thought Chris Bryant looked a lot back to normal, if you will.
Okay, Zach, what do you think? Marlins in 2, Marlins in 3. What's your gut feeling?
Marlins in 1.
Yeah. Let's just say Cubbies in 2.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Derek. I love you. You know, I appreciate you very much from our years there in Ottawa, Kansas, a little town. But I got to know a lot of people that really love the game of baseball, and Zach was one of them. So thank you very much for joining us, and hopefully we can talk sometime soon.
Absolutely. See you, fellas.
All right. See you, man.
Take care.
Okay, thank you to Zach Gerch, and we can come back to our Marlins analysis. I wanted to give you guys that surprise because he's one of my friends from college, and he's a diehard Cubs fan. And
you can tell. He
loves the game.
No lack of confidence on his end that the Cubs are sweeping.
So, what do you guys think? Can the Marlins pull this and win 2 games at Wrigley Field?
Before I answer that, I want to add on to the Chad Wallach, Jorge Alfaro.
Yes, for sure. That's an interesting point.
Yeah. So statistically, the 2 of them are very similar. I mean, yes, Alfaro has better potential. I feel like when it comes to at the plate, but Chad Wallach and him put up very similar stats. I think Chad Wallach even had better hitting numbers than Jorge Alfaro did. And yeah, Jorge Alfaro has the tangibles, but as a pitcher myself, growing up playing, baseball South Florida club here at UF, I've kind of picked up on the fact that you want your catcher to be in control of the game. That's the most important part. I think when you have a catcher, you strive to be Yadier Molina. And I think Chad Wallach is closer to Yadier Molina than Jorge Alfaro is. I don't necessarily think that, Chad Wallach's amazing, but I think he does a better job at managing the game. And because of that, I would put him in the starting lineup, but I'm not Don Mattingly, so we'll see how it goes. And when it comes to the Marlins winning, again, I think they have a chance. I think they have a chance every day, any day they go out there. Minus some of the days that Jose Urena walks like 3 guys to start the game. I think that they have a chance to win. And when you have Sandy, Sixto, and Pablo, you can't count a team out. You can never count a team out when you look at a starting rotation, and it is top of the line. I mean, in 3 years, these 3 guys will probably be some of the 3 best pitchers in the league. And hopefully the Marlins can continue to develop their growth. And they're good enough now to win a series versus Cubs, a struggling Cubs team at hitting. Hopefully that series versus the White Sox doesn't carry over. I don't think it necessarily will. One series, the heightened environment, maybe it was a preview of what we'll see. But if it's not, then I think the Marlins can definitely steal 2 out of the 3 games.
What do you think, David? What would you do? You have, if you're gonna go with defense and pitching, you have to go Wallach, right? Because we saw it's in the numbers. You can tell that some guys just perform better with him behind the plate, and that's, in the playoffs, how many times we saw even like the guys that Gerch mentioned, Greg Maddux has. He had his own catcher. He didn't have the regular catcher. He used to have his own. And we've seen it. Yeah, and we've seen it throughout the history of the game. That's how important it is for your ace or your starter in a playoff game, especially in such a short series. I guess against Leicester, you want to be more aggressive with right-handed hitters. That's something that I can see. Maybe Alfaro catching the 3rd game, but I don't know if you go by the numbers, Alcantara and Sixto were better with Wallach behind the plate. So what do you do there?
Listen, it's a tough spot, and I think and Mattingly didn't answer this question specifically today during Zoom, and some people seem to think that he might be leaning toward Wallach just based solely on the success of the pitchers the last few times out. I mean, we saw what Sandy did against the Yankees. We saw what Pablo did in his start before that, right? Both of those were specifically with Wallach, and Wallach has come through a little bit with the bat. The one thing that you look at in the other direction, Alfaro is one of the few guys in this lineup that actually has success against Hendricks. In versus Kyle Hendricks, Alfaro is 3 of 7 with a double and a walk. Okay, so he has, he's hitting basically like 400. I mean, 8 plate appearances, right? Not a whole lot,
but it's still good to see.
Yeah, but he does have some success. I mean, Rojas is 1 for 9 with a walk against Hendricks. Brian Anderson is 2 for 10. Brinson is 2 for 5. So, there's not a ton of experience, but Alfaro's been one of the guys that has been able to get to Hendricks a little bit. So I guess the question really becomes for Mattingly at this point. Who does I mean, the question actually might even go to Sandy instead. Like, who does he feel the most comfortable with, throwing the ball to, And if it's Wallach, you're doubling down on Sandy being dominant, because if you're taking a bat like Alfaro's out of the lineup, you're maybe weakening that lineup a little bit more, and I know Alfaro's been kind of hit or miss this year, right? He's had great moments, and obviously he struggled a little bit coming back from COVID to find his consistency. If I had to pick right now, my guess is Wallach, just based on the last week or so of games. But if Mattingly thinks that they need another bat that can produce in that lineup, I wouldn't be surprised to see Alfaro at that point.
Yeah, you have to look at the last games that they were must-win games, and Wallach was there, and it's hard because Alfaro is one of the guys that you're building this team on too. Like he's part of this upcoming generation that is also getting. He got here last year, and Alcantara was great with him last year. It was definitely better than this year. And it's been a short season. He also had to go through the COVID situation. He came back. He was kind of getting his rhythm hitting, and then he had to be taken out of the lineup because the pitching was just not performing, and we were losing 25-9 and 17-11. Like this was a softball game. So I don't know. It's a nice call because it's very interesting, and we'll see what Don Mattingly does.
I think you have to focus on the pitching. Like this team is not going to win if we don't stop the Cubs. Like we're not going to out-hit them. We're going to have to out-pitch them.
Yeah. We're going to have to be clutch, get those 2 or 3 runs in one inning, and then hold on to the win and somehow take the 2 out of 3 out of there in Wrigley Field. So, it's very exciting to be talking about Marlins baseball. Like we said before, we're going to be doing this live commentary thing during the game, not play-by-play at all. Just hanging out and talking about what's going on. As soon as we get the lineup, as soon as we start, we're going to know if it's Wallach or Alfaro, and then we can compare, and it's going to be fun. So thank you guys for joining us.
Of course.
Here in 20 minutes, we're going to start another Miami Heat video. The guys are getting live. Ethan from the bubble. We're continuing our coverage. It's been an entire day coverage of the NBA Finals, and it's been fun. So we had to do this little short Marlins parenthesis, and now we're going back to the Miami Heat frantic zone over there with the 5 reason guys and the 5 on the floor guys. So
listen, but the Marlins coverage is continuing. Christian had a great piece up on the website today about the Marlins. I'm going to have a piece early tomorrow, and then obviously we'll have the Marlins stream. I know that the Marlins don't get as much attention on some of the other outlets down here as the Heat and the Dolphins, but this team, we're doing our best to cover this group. It's an exciting group. It's a fun group, and the future is bright, regardless of what happens with the clubs or with the Cubs. That this just like with the Heat, it feels like the Marlins are playing with house money a little bit. Nobody expected them to be here, right? So why not keep winning? I wouldn't be surprised if they took 2 out of 3 from Chicago. Tomorrow's obviously key.
Big game tomorrow.
But I think I really think they could take 2 out of 3 from Chicago, and then who knows who comes out of the other part of the bracket, the Braves or the Reds. I mean, it could be a lot of fun moving forward here for South Florida sports. I mean, tomorrow might be a big day with a Marlins win and a Heat win.
I think tomorrow decides the series. I think whoever wins tomorrow wins the series. Because the Cubs win, I don't like. Six was amazing. Don't get me wrong, but I think in a playoff situation versus you, Darvish, tough situation. I think if the Marlins win tomorrow, I definitely see them winning the entire series.
Hopefully they do that. I think we're gonna go 3. So hopefully we get to see Pablo beating John Lester there. So we end up the Lester era for good.
For good.
And you are out of the playoffs. So thank you guys for joining me tonight. You can follow David Fernandez, Christian Chase in their Twitter accounts. They like David was saying, they're doing a great job on 5reasonsports.com. Please visit our website and give it a read to everything that the guys are producing there, because it's great content, and especially this team that it's getting more and more attention. Too bad that it was at the same time that the Miami Heat is doing all this, but I mean, great for us, I guess. Yeah. We can't complain.
No complaints.
It's better like this. A couple of years ago, the Marlins were selling everybody. The Heat didn't make the playoffs. It was just
those are tough years.
So we get to enjoy this time, and you guys go back to watch some baseball. The Yankees are beating the Cleveland Indians 2-0 after 2 innings. So in the top of the third, home run by Aaron Judge, and the Rays are beating the Toronto Blue Jays 3-0. We're gonna continue our MLB and Marlins, of course, coverage here on 5 Reasons soon. So thank you very much. Remember to subscribe and give it a thumbs up here in the YouTube channel. Thank you. See you later.